3, 2, 1. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Busha Boys podcast with your hosts, Dominic and Ewo. Today we have a guest named Dom. I'm sure it's short for Dominic. And yeah, Ewo is going to give you guys a little inside scoop on our guest today.
Yeah, we're very excited to have Dom on our show. Dom is a man of many traits. He's one of the hardest working people I know. He is outspokenly Italian, and he's also an avid U.S. historian. So this should be really fun.
The gift that keeps giving like babushka. Quick traditional coronavirus update. Cases actually passed 10 million now. Yeah, no, isn't that crazy? Dude, we should definitely go back and listen to our first ones back when it was much lower than this by the millions. But yeah, it's kind of interesting how the U.S. is not really right now. Pretty much things are surging back up in a lot of the places that open back up, you know. And I heard that places like Arizona have to close their bars again for another 30 days. It just shows you how well we're doing. But
yeah, it's interesting times. Dom, how have you been dealing with this whole coronavirus situation?
Oh, first off, I just want to say thank you for having me on, guys. It means a lot. And no, I've just been, just trying to keep busy like the rest of us. Use the time wisely and not waste it away,
For sure. And how does that manifest in itself? Like what have you really been doing?
Well, it's rare to have time where like things that you're consumed by necessity. So like I've been like not been able to work like I usually am able to, and I haven't had school, been bombarded with that stuff. So I've just been trying to polish off some of the things that I like to do. So today I was just been studying extra Chinese, or whether it be like doing a little bit more like exercising, just stuff to work on like the whole person. Or I've been teaching myself how to meditate and just stuff that can carry outward after this. But now that I have more time on my hands, I can utilize that for a good purpose. And yes, I have been watching a little bit extra TV like the rest of us.
Dude, you sound like the perfect guest for Ewa, because you got the meditation, Chinese, work ethic, and I'm just like, whoa. Like you're like made in a lab. Ewa made you.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, we've got along since like freshman year, and like the things that he just mentioned, maybe besides meditation, are like really what bonded us.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
Oh, yeah. Menelik is also a Zhongwen Ke student.
Yeah.
Feijong Hao.
All three of us are Chinese men.
Doi.
Yeah, man.
Zhongwen Ke Ren. No, wait, no. Zhongwen Ken. Wait, Zhongwen Ren. Zhongwen
Doi Han Hao.
Zhongguo.
Wow. I'll show you.
Zhongguo Ren. Yeah. Oh, man.
As your teacher, as strict as mine?
She's very strict, but the thing is she cares so much about just like teaching us, because we're a bunch of kids who, unlike, we're not your stereotypical Chinese class. We're very laid back, not saying that there's a stereotypical class to begin with, but I'm just saying like we're very different from each other. We all play different sports. Some of us wrestle, some of us like row, some of us run track, some of us do water polo. Like you could not find a more diverse group of kids throughout LaSalle to just throw together in a class. So a lot of times it's just, but the one thing we do have in common is we're all extroverts. So it's more like she just tries to spend most of her time just getting us to sit still for 3 seconds. It's great.
Oh, that's solid. That's nice.
Yeah.
That's good balance.
There's really no better way to describe our Chinese class.
Jeez. Yeah, I've seen some of the videos. I'm just like, what? How do you guys even pay attention in that?
Yeah, I still ask myself that.
Yeah, it's weird, but it works. Like, yeah, she can get you mad. Like, she gets us to focus. Like, she's just like, oh my God. One time she snapped and she was like, I came all this way from my home country just to teach you guys, and this is how you treat me? And we're all like, oh man. All right, we probably should.
But the thing that's very surprising is that we're actually, like, we're able to converse, and we actually learned a decent amount like these last 4 years in Chinese, and that's what shocked me the most is how she was able to like tame our just absolute crazy behaviors and to like actually teach us. It's pretty impressive for a young teacher.
You're like, whoa, we actually learned something.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah, at least you got some good memories. Nice.
What about your Chinese teacher, Malik?
Mine was interesting because it was like one of the smallest classes in the school, and I mean, we actually switched Chinese teachers like 3 times, like throughout my course of being at the school. And
why is that?
The first teacher, he's just like a white guy who I guess learned Chinese, and then he's just teaching. He left to go to like Florida to get a new job, and then we got another teacher who's actually from China, from the Sichuan province, so she likes spicy food. But anyways, she had to go back. She had to go back because I think her dad was getting sick or something. And then the most recent one, she I'm not gonna call her out on some of the stuff she did, but like she left her old school and then came here to teach, or to my school and to teach. But no, she's cool. She's definitely really fast talking and kind of hard to keep up with. But no, like, I mean, definitely learned a lot. And I was kind of like the person that tried to lighten everything up and just trying to goof off in times when it was a little bit too serious. But no, yeah, it was good. It was good.
Yeah, every class needs that.
Yeah.
It's ironic that you two would say that because I feel like both of you are probably like those characters in class, you know?
Absolutely. It's like you have to lie with
the teacher trying to be like super serious, you two would be like,
you have no idea how many times that's gotten me into trouble.
Oh yeah. The worst is when the teacher's like actually angry at you, but you can't help to smile. But like you're trying not to smile. Like you're really trying your hardest. But has that happened to you guys, or is that just me?
Freshman year, I was almost unable to wrestle for the rest of the season because I got threatened with detentions for laughing while the teacher was seriously reprimanding the class. But I was so overcome with laughter that I couldn't help it. And he started freaking out. He was just like, "You will never wrestle again." He goes, "I will have you in detention every day." It was so fun. And that made me laugh even more because I'm like, you can't just keep adding fuel to the fire.
I don't think it works like that though. Like when you get a detention, you're just like done. Your career is over.
Exactly. No, he was unhappy to say the least.
Dang. That's hilarious. But yeah, no, it's in different classes. Like I don't know. I kind of like feel the environment out a little bit. It's a different dynamic.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. And like how do you think how do you think your ethnic origin has influenced your personality, Dom?
So as discussed prior in the intro, you've mentioned that I'm Italian, and I am, and I say that with pride. It's a very interesting, like a lot of people are like very like, oh, I'm Italian American, I'm Irish American, I'm whatever, X, Y, Z. But we practice our, I guess you can say, Italian heritage on a regular basis. That means Sunday dinner every Sunday. Like there's no excuse. I grew up with a lot of strict, and I don't mean to say that other cultures don't have this as well, but I know mine definitely does because that's what I was told. But strict like Italian ideologies. So therefore, like there's nothing more important than family. Like there's nothing more important than making that Sunday dinner. And if you don't make Sunday dinner, you better have a damn good excuse to why you missed it. And it's like a lot of stuff like that. I grew up in a very family oriented. I got to see my cousins and my uncles and my aunts every single Sunday, and I still do to this day. So like I also grew up very religious. Church every Sunday was very important to make, and then also like kind of like the stereotypical things you see, like the gold chain around your neck, always surrounded, just like a lot of stuff like that, or like the crucifix hanging in the house. I just grew up with a lot of that stuff, and that kind of shaped me into the way I am. So I'm very family first oriented, and that doesn't mean just blood family. Like if you're a really close friend of mine, you're considered my family. There's always a seat at the table. So that's kind of how I was raised, and how I hope to carry on the rest of my life.
For sure.
That's sick.
And meeting Dom's family on several occasions, I can attest to that. You know, I really wish I could say he was lying, but honestly, like when you enter his family, like the way they just talk to you, approach to you, it's just like out of a movie. Like you think it's all stereotypical, but like it's really that like Italian hospitality, like hospitality love.
Hospitality.
Hospitable.
Hospitality love. Bro, I swear, I forget English sometimes.
That's sick.
It's the better of us. But yeah, no, I remember there was like certain times, like we have every year when my grandfather was younger, he would have because he's now in his like middle early 80s, but when he was like 70s and stuff like that, like there was always Sunday dinners, but every year we had because he's very patriotic as well. He came when he was in America, he like served in the army, so he's very patriotic, and I think that's where I get some of my patriotism from. But he always 4th of July was a very, very big event because he came to America for financial reasons, and so he was like very thankful for that. So every year we'd have a 4th of July party, and his house was at the perfect spot where he does not have a big house at all, but he had a yard, and he's like, all right, I'll set up tables and chairs so that everyone can come by. First year it started off like just family, and then it was friends, and then it was that. And then like after a few years, we had 200 people on a consistent basis coming over every year for this 4th of July party. And there was always an extra, and if we didn't have room, we'd always get more tables next year. Go buy more tables, buy more chairs, and obviously buy more food, because that's the most important thing. But there was, like I said, there's always a seat at the table for everyone.
And that was the origin of the Italian festival.
Exactly.
DeSantis family.
Exactly.
Wait, is it all family members that come? Like 200?
Oh,
like,
no.
What?
No.
Okay.
This is, well, we do have like a very large stereotypical Italian family with like cousins that just never ending cousins, and all of them are named Anthony, Joey, Sal. I'm telling you, very stereotypical. But this was, if we could meet you one time. Like there's a story where my grandfather had some electrician work done in his house, and the guy finished work and he started leaving. And he's like, "What are you doing? It's dinner time. Sit down." And he just had some random guy who worked for Verizon at his dinner, like drinking wine, eating pasta. And my mom walks in because he has chickens in the backyard. She like went to go get some eggs. My mom walks in, and like this electrician's sitting at the table drinking wine with my grandpa and eating pasta. He's like, "All right."
That's sick, dude.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any family traditions? Like I know some families that, you know, every year they gather and make the tomato sauce with the Roma tomatoes. And
yes. That's actually great you mentioned that. Every year, every September, before school starts, like a week before school starts, so maybe late August, we all get together and we make the 150 gallons of wine in his basement. Or then we do cheese around Easter time, because there's the two most important days of the year. If my grandfather taught me anything, it's the two most important days of the year are Christmas and Easter. Those are the only 2 days where you can take, like, Sundays you shouldn't have anything to do, but Christmas and Easter, nothing, like no plans, those are very important days. So before Easter, we would always make cheese, whether it's ricotta, mozzarella, everything. He'd make cheese because he had a little storefront, so he'd make cheese in April. He'd make wine in like late August, early September, and then you made tomato sauce in the summer, and then you made limoncello throughout the year because that was always a hot take. And then you made pasta for a certain special occasion, everything. And then we also had the Feast of the Seven Fishes, which is very Italian, where you have like the seven fishes, like the smelts, the bacala, the tilapia, the crab, and we Americanized it a little bit just to like change with the tides. But tradition is very, very important.
Yeah, I can definitely imagine. You kind of make me hungry now.
Yeah, yeah, I am too.
That's it. And then how much are you aware of your family history? Because I know some families, they really carry that with pride and, can trace back a lot of their lineage and, kind of carry that with them now.
Absolutely. Like you said, it's very important to a lot of families, and our family falls into that category as well. So my actually, the grandparents I'm referring to and the grandparents I get my Italian heritage from is my mom's parents. So the Bellows is what their last name is, my mom's maiden name. And I learned a lot about their family lineage, just because they Montello was the town in Italy where they grew up, where they like knew where their family was originated from, and it wasn't a wealthy town, but it was a town. It was for goat herders, is mainly what it was for then. But with family history is extremely important. It's not uncommon or irregular for the classic old book that my grandfather would break out after dinner, after we had your espresso after Sunday dinner, and he'd break out this book and he'd show us pictures of his father and his family when he went to Montella and the mountains up there. And I was actually blessed because I was able to go to Italy and have for an exchange program. So I lived over there for the summer for around 18 days or 16 days. And it was cool because I got to go to the same mountains where my ancestry and where my family walked the mountains and went to church, or why my confirmation name is Salvatore. And the Saint Salvatore, there's a church in Norristown that we go to, and why that church is called Saint Salvatore because he's the patron saint of Montella. So why that is and the whole history behind it. But yes, like you said, family is the most important thing, and history of your family is also very important.
Yeah, dude, I definitely relate to that. The whole bringing the book out and looking at the old pictures. I don't know if it's just me, but I love looking at old pictures because it kind of in the moment transports you to back in a different time period, and you're just you get to reimagine what it was like.
Absolutely, it's very nostalgic. And as Ewell says, I'm also a very big history buff. I love that stuff. So it's again, it sparks my interest as well.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. But getting a little psychological here. I don't know if you guys knew this. I don't know why I started it like that. I'm sorry. But knowing your family lineage is a marker for it's a trait that people who do not suffer depression have.
Really?
So if you're depressed, go learn about your family. Yeah. I don't know where I read that, but I remember that for some reason.
It's a good word to the wise.
I feel that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, because I think you kind of have a sense of belonging in a way. There's actually you're part of something, that kind of aspect.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's actually ironic because I feel like Italian people are very, they have a lot of pride, and Ethiopians, me and Malik, we also have a lot of pride, and it's all about nationality and, coming together. Both of the cultures are very orientated around family, right?
Oh yeah,
they are both centered like that.
Easily.
Yeah.
I know in Ethiopia, and I'm pretty sure in Italy too, even the living situations, a lot of times you're living with your family from, your grandparents to your parents to siblings, and a lot of people under one roof type of thing.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that was one of the components that, maybe made Italy a little bit more of a coronavirus target, but
yeah. Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I think that's true. Actually.
That might have had an effect. It's a shame to see what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bro, we were getting so happy. It is just that's why Italy. Okay.
No,
that's good.
It's just no, but one thing that in connecting Ethiopia with Italy, I don't know, Dom, if you're familiar with that history, because
we're about to test it.
Are you familiar with Italy and Ethiopian relations at all?
No, not to my knowledge. Please.
Dom's good with
American
US history.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. But
yeah.
You can jump in a little bit because I'm not the best with describing it. But yeah. So in the time when a lot of European nations were going down to Africa, and separating the regions and taking control and colonizing. A lot of the countries down there, did get colonized by people from Europe, and notably Ethiopia was one of the countries that was never actually colonized, and the country that did attempt to colonize them was Italy, back then. So
Well, I was gonna guess that my guess was gonna be that Ethiopia used to be colonized, but that's actually really cool to learn that they were unsuccessful. That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, to a certain extent, like they low key took over the capital of Addis, but it wasn't like an official colonization. But I would say the Italian people have definitely infiltrated the Ethiopian culture because, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of Ethiopians, oh, you definitely do know this, never mind. But a lot of Ethiopians say ciao, or Ethiopians really love Italian food. Like it's such a weird infatuation. Like whenever we go out with like my family, like we're like, what do you want to eat? They're always like Italian. I'm like, what about like, Chinese, Japanese food? We can get Persian food. They're like, no, Italian. Like, okay.
It's hard. It's a pretty common theme. I feel like every culture loves Italian food. It's hard not to love it.
Yeah. But like going along with what you were saying, there definitely is a lot of influence in Ethiopia from Italian culture. And whenever I go back, so if I'm ever eating food at, say, my grandma's house there, either they're cooking injera, which is like the food that they eat there, traditional Ethiopian food, or sometimes they just literally make spaghetti or lasagna, and it's like the weirdest. Yeah. That's like the other thing that they can make. It's like I don't know why, but like
lasagna. No,
it's lasagna. Right. Lasagna's the big thing.
It's literally lasagna. Like,
it's almost every like cookout or family meal gathering. Sometimes you have all the extremely traditional Ethiopian food, and then there's just lasagna casserole type of thing. But
that's awesome.
Where did that come from? But
yeah.
Anyways.
And I think most of the restaurants in like Ethiopia's capital are like all the time.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Oh, dude, Ethiopia. I mean, Ewo. I don't know if you've ever been to this really authentic Italian restaurant in Ethiopia. I forget the name of it, but like I went there last summer, and the guy who owns it is this like traditional like mobster looking guy from Italy, and I guess his family came down here maybe like for political jobs or something like that. But anyways, he like runs the restaurant. He just like sits there, and when you come in, he has to look at you, see if he likes you, just by how you look. And he's like he's straight up Italian, just Italian guy, and he's actually like learned the language in Ethiopia, and all his chefs are Ethiopian, so you can speak to them in Amharic, the language. It's just like the most like it was like one of the best Italian restaurants I've ever been to, and it was like straight up in Ethiopia. So I was like, shout out them.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Shout out them. I mean, speaking of mobsters, what are your guys' favorite Italian mobster movies?
Oh man, there's too many of them.
Give me top three.
Well, The Godfather is just classic. Like you can't go wrong with it.
Which one?
Oh man, again, you're splitting hairs here. It's difficult to say. Pick any of them. You can't go wrong with any of them. But even right now, I got me. I have my Italian mob poster hanging up in my room next to my Frank Sinatra poster. Like it's just all good stuff. You know what I mean? You can't go wrong with any of it.
Oh, that's another thing. Ethiopians are also obsessed with Frank Sinatra.
Really?
Yes, bro.
That is at least awesome to hear.
I don't know. I'm maybe extrapolating here, but my dad has a weird obsession.
Yeah, I mean, my mom loves Frank Sinatra too, oddly enough.
So. Oh, see, it's an Ethiopian thing.
I get scrutinized for saying this whenever the conversation arises at dinner, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm more of a Dean Martin fan than Frank Sinatra.
What?
Wow.
Yeah,
what?
I'm a very big Dean Martin fan. Frank Sinatra's great, don't get me wrong, and when the Rat Pack gets together, nothing's better than that. But I know Frank Sinatra's the king. Frank Sinatra definitely paved the way for everyone to follow. But But Dean Martin, I mean, he's just got countless hits. You can't beat him.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty solid. Yeah.
Volare. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think.
Napoli.
Yeah, exactly. No, he just has so many good songs.
Yeah.
And then Christmas time, oh, it's amazing.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh yeah. Italian music during
I
Christmas
I
time.
can only imagine what it's like during Christmas time. At your guys' house.
Oh, it's everything. It's oh man, because you have the Feast of the Seven Fishes the night before Christmas, and I'll be honest, like being a kid, there's nothing better than Christmas morning. But my favorite thing, and I was so weird because I'd always love this more. I'd love Christmas Eve more than Christmas because of that dinner, and it was. Oh man, it's something else because you have the old record you got the record player set up. You got Nat King Cole, you have Frank Sinatra, you got Dean Martin, you got Gene Autry playing, and then you got all the Seven Fishes, and it's just awesome.
I need an invite, bro.
Yeah, hey, there's always a seat open.
I'm gonna bring Menelik. We'll bring some fishes as well, and then
absolutely.
We'll feast together.
Yes, sir.
Dom, have you ever seen a movie called The Green Book? Yeah, that's what it's called, The Green Book.
Oh man, is that where the I might be confusing this with The Green Mile. Oh no, The Green Book, where the guy drives the car for the guy who's the pianist. Yes,
yeah. Have you seen that? Yeah. So, I mean, I just remember, and what you're saying kind of directly reminds you of the one scene when it's literally Christmas time and like they have the Italian dinner around the big table, everybody's talking, and then like Mahershala Ali, the black piano player, comes, and then when he comes to the door, everybody like kind of stops, and like they're all like kind of surprised, and then somebody's just like, hey, what are you doing? Make him a seat, come on, and like everybody's like so welcoming, and I'm just like, yeah, that's tough, like
yeah, no, that's actually that's where the stereotype arises from, because that's actually how it is. Like there's always, if you stop by on Sunday and the family's over, like you're staying for the rest of the meal whether you like it or not. And if you don't, he'll actually be hurt, he'll actually be disrespected. But the funniest thing is every Sunday, and I always joke, I'm like, after being here for 18 years and my brother is 25, and like we've been doing this for just countless years, at least 25 of them. But I'm like, after this many years, you would think that my grandfather would learn to cook the right amount of pasta for the amount of people that come over. Because we'll have like 12 people over, and he'll be like, all right, 12 people get 4 pounds of pasta. And we're like, Poppy, we also have ribs, we have sausages, we have like another 3 courses. Like, what are you doing? And we're not all going to eat a third of a pound. And never understood it until like 2 months ago. My mom was just like, he doesn't do it because he doesn't know how much he should cook. He does that so you guys have leftovers, and that if anyone else drops by, like, they're not hungry. And it's great. It's a great lesson there.
That's nice.
Yeah. I think that speaks volume about like just the Italian culture.
Absolutely. Well, it's not just the culture. It's, you know what I mean? I guess it does resonate in the culture, yes, but it's also him. He's a great guy, Because there's also the 8 balls and the ones that do not fit the array of the culture. But yeah, no, I definitely think the culture has a lot to do with it.
Yeah. And I'm no way trying to disrespect your grandfather.
No. I didn't interpret it as such.
No, yeah, but I didn't want it to be like subliminally. Yeah. But okay. Yeah. He's a cool guy.
You're good.
No, you're chilling. No worries, dude.
All right. Do you think your Italian heritage or the way you're just raised in that culture or environment has influenced your personality to the extent of your work ethic?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So just a little background on my work ethic. I got my first job when I was 8 years old, and I got my second job again when I was 8 years old. My first job was my first time I got a job. I got another job coming right after that. I started hanging coats in this coat room when I was so little I could barely even see over the window where they would hand me the coat from. So I'd have to open the door and grab the coat from there, or I'd have to stand further back as my one brother handed me the coat. But it was great. I think they also wanted me to work there because I'm some cute kid, and they're just trying to get more tips from the people walking by getting their coats. But No, it's I've since I could remember, I've been working. My other job was, so my one job was hanging coats. I'd do that a few times in the winter and fall and stuff like that, just making a quick buck on the weekend or on a Wednesday night. But and then besides that, every Tuesday and Thursday, I'd help my mom because she had a cleaning company. I'd help her clean this hair salon. So I'd go there, or just houses on the weekend, houses after school, and I was always busy, always keeping busy, always working. And absolutely, I think that has a lot to do with the culture and how I was raised and influenced. Because I mean, my grandfather, he retired when he was 57, and they were by no means a rich family. He just worked 2 or 3 different jobs. They were a blue collar family. He worked at Lee's Tires and Conshohocken, So it's no way. It was not the most affluent or the most high paying position you could have gotten. He wasn't, like I said, he was working a blue collar job, and that's where that mentality comes from. I know Ewell and I always like joke around, whether we're working out or whatever, we're doing something and we're working long hours, and we're always like, it's that blue collar mentality, but it's the truth. I mean, it's an actual thing. It teaches you a lot. But yeah, he always told me, he said, I don't care what you do. He goes, even when going into college, because I wasn't too keen on the idea of going to college, because all my life for the last 10 years, all I've known is how to do is work with my hands. I've been, whether it's having a cleaning job, working at 2 or 3 different entertainment companies, or just doing whatever I could do to just make cash here and there. And it's not because, it wasn't always necessary, but it was how I was raised, So like I always thought, like, if I have time, might as well start working. Like I worked at a restaurant Sunday nights. After Sunday dinner, I'd have to speed over there. And then Saturday nights, I'd work for an entertainment company, and all that while doing 3 sports and school. It was a lot. But there was that mentality. He always told me, he goes, I don't care what you do, just be the best person at it. He goes, if you want to wash dishes, then be the best damn dishwasher there is. Or if you want to do whatever it is, if you want to be a plumber, electrician, all these great trades that are offered, he says, just be the best one there is and work your butt off at it, because there's no dishonor. The only dishonor in work is laziness. He goes, laziness is the worst thing you can have in a person. And he also told me, he goes, your word is that. He goes, like, your word is one of the 2 things that you're born with. You have your self-respect and your word, and that like in your trust. So he goes, if I trust in you to come over and that you're gonna help me with the chickens, or help cut my grass, or cut wood, whatever it is, he goes, your word's that, so you need to abide by it and stand up for it. So that's where he instilled a lot of my work ethic in me. So that's where I get it from.
That's sick.
Yeah.
That's dope. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people are like that. I feel like a lot of people recognize that, but at a very later stage. Like, do you know where your ambition came? Like, as you were a youth, like, what made you so precocious?
Oh man, I grew up. I wouldn't say anything crazy, but I grew up like a regular, I guess you can say, suburban family. Like, things weren't like, we weren't rich, we weren't poor. We've had times where we were up and we were down, but like, it was the times when things weren't going too well. So like, when like, I guess you can say, like, we weren't like paycheck to paycheck, but when it did come to that, for that certain month, or that certain there's certain collection of months or weeks or whatever it was, whenever money got tight for a little bit, because with like the 2008 housing market crash, like there was some instability there, but it didn't last long, only a few months, if not even a year. But that's when I learned how to work hardest the most, because I always thought, I was like, well, life's gonna toss you some crazy balls, but you just gotta hit them, like you just gotta keep anteing up and keep playing. So that's kind of where I got my like drive to work, or that I don't know, that ambition, as you were saying, but yeah, it came from not having stuff and not being able to go to a great school like LaSalle, which I'm totally blessed to be able to go to, but when you didn't have things, when it wasn't so perfect, because then you're like, wow, I learned from it, and I honestly I thank that more than anything else, because it was great. I love, those are my favorite times, because it taught me how to work. I was working. Because it was never complaining about having to work, because that's all I knew how to do, was work and help out and keep busy. So like when I got to high school and I was working Friday nights, Saturday nights, and doing a competitive varsity sport on the weekends, and then doing school during the week and practice after that, it was just what I knew to do. So I always just embraced it because you mean you're dealt that hand, might as well play. So it's fun. That's where I get it from.
And it's interesting you say that because a lot of times, a lot of times when you're in that survival mode is when you kind of show your true grit and, what you're actually made out of. And that happens with a lot of people in different either fields of work or different instances. But it's just that common theme of like when you're down there, like, do you have what it takes to keep grinding and keep pulling through? And obviously, I guess you've kind of had the blessing of learning that early, and now you get to utilize that throughout your rest of your life.
Absolutely. And the famous saying that I always like knew growing up as a kid, and even now, and I kind of live by it. They say the same water that boils an egg, or that the same water that softens a potato hardens an egg. So it's not the circumstances that you surround yourself with. It's what you do. It's what you're made of on the inside. And I think that's great. I love the way you phrase survival mode, because that's exactly it. If you get dropped, can you get back up? And yeah, it was tough for a little bit, but I mean, I could not think that, like, if I could do it again, I would do it again in a heartbeat, because that was my favorite part. That's where the character came from.
Yeah, man. What would you say to somebody that would otherwise not have, either a good work ethic or it is lazy in your grandpa's eyes or something, like,
Oh, man.
What would you kind of do to kind of steer them in the right direction?
That's a great way, because that's a really good question. And thank you for asking it. When I was a kid, if I got lazy, my grandfather would just say, "I'm gonna beat you until you're not lazy," or like jokingly, obviously, or just like he always comes from that like messing around. He's like, "Oh, if you're lazy," it's like, "I'll pour a bucket of water on you while you're sleeping and get you up working early at 6 a.m." So he would always have a more stern and strict way of dealing with it. So that's kind of what I grew up. But if I were to do it, I kind of got softened a little bit. So I'd say more just, I don't know. I don't even know what I would say. Probably just, there's no other option. Things in this life aren't going to be given to you, because my dad also, I get a lot of my work ethic from my dad, and he tells me this all the time. I'll ask him a simple decision, whether it be where can we get dinner tonight, or like, something. I remember when I was thinking about wrestling or not, I asked him, and he would refuse to give me an answer. Or when picking a college, a more modern time question or situation I was faced with. But I was like, when trying to figure out a situation on what to do, he would never give me an answer. And I say, why is that? And he's like, why can't you give me an answer? He goes, well, someday I'm not going to be here. Someday you're going to be faced with decisions on your own, and you're going to have to do them. Because I'm not going to be there to help you change your kids' diapers. I'm not going to be there to help you figure out what to do with your money or what to do with your time. So you have to learn how to do that on your own. I'll guide you. I'll give you all the information, but that's that. So that's probably what I would tell someone. I'd say, like, you got to work for yourself, because sometimes you're going to be that provider of the household, or sometimes you're going to be that person that's going to have to get your hands dirty, work harder, and like do what needs to be done in order to provide for your family and all that. So might as well get used to that now, because when that hits the fan, and it might hit, sadly, I hope it doesn't, but it might hit. So
it definitely would.
Exactly. Like I'm sorry, but like if someone's real lazy and they don't want to work, and if you don't want to work, then that's going to hit the fan, like whether you like it or not, you got to get used to the grit now, because it's coming. So better enjoy the work you do rather than be miserable the whole time. Because if you like working and you love what you do, well, then that's the greatest gift, because then you're going to keep working hard, and you're going to keep striving for more. Regardless, it's not just in work, whether it's sports, whether it's work, or whether it's you just want something, you got to work hard for it.
Yeah, I think that was extremely well said. Like, I don't even know what else you could add to that.
I think I saw that on a poster one time or something.
Bumper sticker.
Yeah. I mean,
go ahead, man.
No, go ahead, man.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, when you get to that point, when you're actually in college, you're by yourself pretty much, and I mean, the people that you're around most of the time, your social circle, maybe your if you're on the club teams and stuff, there's a lot of people you're going to be around, and they'll have different work ethics, different values, and sometimes you're going to have to really just trust what you have and trust what you've been following. I know, Dom, you'd probably go along with the mentality you've had thus far. But I would just say, like, keep that in mind and be cautious not to get too influenced in that sense. So
absolutely, it's kind of like a tree. As the tree gets older, it branches out, it goes different directions, it has different paths it takes, but at the end of the day, it still has that center trunk that it holds on to. So it's kind of like the foundations that you set for yourself and that you've learned or that you can learn. I don't know. I mean, we're kids, we're not old. We're not done learning by any means. We're just starting off. We're just building that trunk now. So it's about building the sturdy one so that when we do have to be faced with certain adversities or decisions, we're adequately suited.
For sure.
Very, very well spoken. I'm thrown off. Like, I'm so speechless. I don't even know how to react, bro. I'm like, oh. I know you guys can't see me, but my jaw dropped a little bit.
Appreciate it.
Oh boy. Okay. Specifically for quarantine, like, I feel like you've been very active lately. How would you recommend people to, I don't know, stay positive, stay optimistic? Like, I know you're into psychology as well. So how would you, like, what advice would you give for this situation specifically?
So that's a great question, because quarantine, we're kind of forced with a hand that we're not usually used to being dealt, So we're stuck at home for the most part, and we kind of have to use this time. So it's kind of like, I like to think of it as this: when I go to school and I have a sport, I always come back and I feel more productive. When I don't have a sport, or if I'm out of season, or if I'm in transition for 2 weeks and I have that time off, I will come home, take a nap, eat food, watch TV, be more relaxed, because I'm like, I finally have downtime, let me utilize it. But that's the worst thing to do, because downtime you can use as, the TV is always going to be there. I'd rather use the resources I have in my hand, or the internet. I know, like, all the older people always say, like, oh, the internet's, you can use it for so much good, but there's some truth to that. And just like keeping busy and doing the little things. There's this book called Making Your Bed, and it's written by this guy who, he was a Navy SEAL. I'm blanking on the author's name, but it was a New York Times bestseller. But the premise of the book is doing the little things right. So again, with that tree trunk analogy, having a solid foundation. So the first thing you should do every morning is wake up and make your bed. And it's not about the importance of making your bed, because you're going to mess it up when you go to sleep the next night or that night. But the thing is, if you do something productive and you can feed off of that, because you get a little bit of a high off of doing something productive. You feel this sense of accomplishment, even if it's a simple task as making your bed, but you still make your bed, and it's like, okay, I'm starting my day off with something productive. Like, I'm starting my day off in the right direction. I'm doing that. And a big thing that I've done during this quarantine is I've actually gotten a whiteboard. So I have around 15, 20 boxes on this whiteboard. And some of the stuff is as simple as, like, breakfast. Make sure I have breakfast, and I check that off. Like, how many water bottles? Did I meet my quota for water bottles for the day? Did I do my exercise for the day? Did I study Chinese for the day? I've been getting into the psychology, as he well says. I love learning about psychology. I think it's very important. But I've been watching Robert Sapolsky, who's a professor at Stanford. Did I watch some of the lecture today? And just like, or did I meditate in the morning and nighttime? Like, it's just the little things. And each one of these things, you can break it down. I'm not studying Chinese for 4 hours every day, because that's unrealistic. Because at the end of the day, I'm still a kid and I still want to have my kickback time to play Xbox and watch TV. But even if it's just 15, 20 minutes, that's 15, 20 minutes I didn't do the day. Like, you know what I mean? That's 15, 20 minutes I have extra where I could have learned Chinese. Or it's just the little things. If you make your bed, like this book is founded on, all the adds up, and you just keep. It's the snowball effect of productivity. So it's very important in my opinion.
Whew. Oh, dude, that's great. I think I was actually showing you yesterday. It was kind of funny. I kind of have a similar method to what you were talking about.
Okay.
But I was using that during school, like, for studying. So, like, if I was like saying for a certain class, I'd be like, all right, I got to get this amount of hours done per week. And like, I would like check off the box, like whether or not I did it. And then I can, directly see if I'm starting to lag behind, or, if I'm at a good spot. But, yeah, I definitely agree with what you're saying. I just looked up the books written by Admiral McRaven.
Yeah, I looked it up too.
You looked it up, yeah. Actually, I know a little about him. He's actually really respected in what he's done thus far. I think he's also like chancellor at the University of Texas, I think, something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a great mindset what you were talking about. Because I know personally lately I've been like going to bed late, which really screws up my day the next day. I end up waking up late, and then it just makes me more lazy. And then when the day kind of winds down and I start to realize that I didn't really get anything done, it wasn't productive. I don't know. I feel like that kind of takes a toll on your confidence and your inner will. And
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I found thus far.
Yeah.
And definitely should try to take those kinds of measures in order to stay on top of things.
Yeah, well, that same snowball of productivity where you do one thing and the next thing comes with it, that can happen kind of with, like, if you flip the script a little bit, the same thing can happen with not being productive. Mm-hmm. Like, if I'm lazy, I'll be like, I just spent the last 2 hours in bed waking up this morning. Let me go, like, spend another 2 hours, or you're kind of just, like, moping around for the day. So it's breaking that cycle. It's doing that one thing that can get you back on track, because once you're on track, it's amazing. You go to bed with a smile on your face thinking, all right, I did something good today. I did a lot of things that I'm proud of and that I like can't wait to do the next morning. And it's getting into that groove. But they say the most important thing, I know specifically because I've been like reading up a lot on the like different like exercises or like workouts and stuff like that. I've been doing a lot of research into that. They say the most important thing is, or nutrition or like whatever it is, any aspect of life, most important thing is consistency. So like I said with Chinese, I can study 4 hours of Chinese right now, but the way the brain is, the psychology of the brain is actually set up to it's like time management. So if you spend 15 minutes a day studying for a test, your brain is going to remember that 15 minutes way more for the 15 minutes over the 5-day span, more than if I just spend like 75 minutes one day before the test and just try to remember it all then. It's just about continuously building up to it.
For sure.
Yeah, 100%. It's ironic that you actually said consistency is so important, because I have this quote above my door that says, consistency and perseverance are the path to success. Like, I think in all success stories, like regardless of your profession or hobby or whatever, I think those two traits alone are a very dangerous combination for whatever you're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. 100%. And Adam Grant, I believe he's the youngest professor at UPenn to get tenured. He talks about in his book Originals, he talks about how some billionaires actually make their bed, and how just it gives them that dopamine release, but it also builds a sense of discipline. And I don't know. I feel like I should have mentioned that earlier, but yeah.
No, it's good that you mentioned it, because it's true. It's that it's not. No one's too big or too small or too like successful or not successful enough just to do the little things, because that's what the most important thing is. Just the little stuff. That's where the foundation is built.
Exactly.
Like your day is started. The foundation of your day is started by making your bed.
100%. It's a small thing, but it's really important.
Absolutely.
For sure.
One of the things I've found that's pretty hard with being productive is just like the first step of getting started. And I don't know if Dom, if you maybe have that similar hurdle to get over, but is there any like way that you try to get past that?
It's got to bite the bullet.
There you
It
go.
sucks sometimes. It really does. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes if I'm like not feeling good, or if I'm tired, or if I'm like moping around for the day, and I'm just like, oh man, I'm really like yesterday. I like had to do something like really difficult. Wrestling season. Wrestling season was brutal for me. You're cutting weight. You're working hard after 6 days of, wrestling hard for practice, like malnutrition, all of it. Like it builds up to you. But on Sundays, you're tired, and you're like, I don't want to get out of bed. This sucks. Like I'm just trying to stay in bed for the entire day, but you just got to bite the bullet and get out of bed. Find that one reason, that one motivation, that one thing that gets you out of bed, and hold on to it, and just keep doing that.
Yeah, for sure. You, wrestlers, man, I don't know how you guys do it, but I have some friends that are wrestlers, and they're pretty highly ranked, I guess within the state of Delaware, but the stuff you guys go through is actually, that's insane, dude. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah. Not the bad.
It's legal torture.
Yeah.
I mean, that's definitely not how I think about it, but it can definitely be perceived that way.
Yeah, not to bash on like Delaware wrestling, but PA wrestling, there's no joke.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah, 4.2% of all wrestlers in the state of PA go D1. Like these kids do not mess around. Best state in the nation. Like these kids are crazy. You'll
hardest state to wrestle,
Really?
bro. Even the JV level is insane. Like it's ridiculous.
I remember I didn't start going varsity until sophomore year, but I remember first JV match. It was I sized up against this kid. Like this kid was a psycho. He was insane because a lot of these PA wrestlers. What happens is, right when they're old enough to walk and talk, their parents throw them on a mat, which is great. You know what I mean? Like instill some good work ethic, but not when you find a kid like me who's never done this sport before, is 106 pounds dripping wet because he had to cut weight, and you just get absolutely clobbered by these kids. Ooh. I was wrestling kids who were now like collegiate wrestlers at JV level freshman year. I'm like, this kid's not a JV wrestler. It's just their lineups, the way the lineup's set up. It's just, you can be the best wrestler in the world, and then if the second best wrestler in the world's the same weight class as you and on the same team, well, man, they're going JV, and it would really suck to have to line up against that kid. I'll tell you that for sure.
Yeah. Have you had some success though?
I've had a decent amount of success in the sport. Nothing crazy, nothing to write home about. No, I wasn't able to wrestle senior year. Got some injuries I had to overcome junior year that really made it difficult to wrestle at my full capability, whether it was just like a broken rib or broken finger or whatever it was, just a few different obstacles. But that's the I say, like, that's the borderline craziness that the sport instills. Like, you just got to keep going. And it's like a lot of what that sport stands for is just doing it for your team. So I've had enough success where I can be happy with the last few years I've had wrestling. And if I could do them again, I absolutely would, with a heartbeat, or without, like, you know what I mean? But it was just, yeah, it's crazy. There's a reason why there's a lot of statistics about like high school wrestlers and Navy SEAL comparisons. Like those guys are insane. If you're a very good wrestler, that you're crazy for the most part.
Oh yeah, 100%. But I think without a doubt, wrestling is the greatest sport you could possibly participate in to have like mental toughness, because
Absolutely.
Wrestling is like 90% mental and like 10% physical. Like the way the way you think about certain lineups or coordinations or just your mindset going into matches is completely everything. Like if you go in and your opponent is like really buff and he's like a state qualifier, but you go in like, I have nothing to lose. Like one of our wrestling coaches, he was a wrestler at Columbia University, and he was telling us about like how he got to states and how he placed. And I think he lost his first match as soon as he got to states. So for the rest of the tournament, he just had this like really flamboyant attitude of like, what do I have to lose? Like, let me just go all out right now. And then he ended up placing third in the state for his weight. And I believe that was like his sophomore or junior year. Like he was still somewhat of a novice wrestler. I mean, no, that he's been wrestling since like birth, but still.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Continue. Sorry.
No, you're good. But I was just gonna say that, it just builds that toughness. Like what Dom was saying about Navy SEALs, I believe that's so accurate, because I mean, like crew is difficult. I mean, there's other series of sports that you can range as mentally damaging or mentally requiring a lot of mental strength, basically. And I think wrestling is definitely up there. Like, if you want to be mentally strong, go ahead, wrestle.
Absolutely. There's a 33% of all Navy SEALs have wrestled in high school. Like, that's a statistic. When there's a number that high, there's absolutely a correlation. That's no anomaly like that. There's a reason that's there. But Ewell is right. That attitude, that mental toughness you get, like when you step on that mat, like you win or lose that match by the way you step on the mat. I've had my fair share of stories where I'm wrestling the captain of this team. Kid's gone to regionals 2 or 3 times. Like, great wrestler. Like, I'm a junior. He's a senior. They're bumping me up a weight class, so I'm already down 7 pounds, and I had to cut. So I'm dehydrated going into the match. I'm down weight, and I'm wrestling the captain of their team, who's qualified to be a collegiate wrestler. If you go to regionals more than once in a state like PA, like you can be a collegiate wrestler. I'm not saying D1, but you're still a college athlete at that point.
Yeah.
I stepped on the mat, having gotten this kid's name messed up. I thought this kid was a freshman. Nobody on their team, and turns out he was the captain of their team, who was an absolute freak. And I stepped on the mat, and I was so hungry to win, because I was like, I am not losing a home match against a freshman. And I ended up losing the match just because this kid was just so good, and I was like dehydrated and just so many different factors, and because he was just better than me, I'll be honest. But I was not giving up at all, and he caught me at the end, mid third period, and he got me lucky. His name is, I forget his name, Dominic Galasso, I think, or Dominic Gallo. He was a great wrestler. Yeah, it was a battle of the Doms. And he came out on top, and I came off the mat, and I was so frustrated. I took off my headgear, and I was like saying some stuff under my breath, like mad at myself I couldn't do more. And my buddy came up to me, and he's like, dude, and he was the captain of our team. His name is J-Pod. He came up to me, and he's like, what are you upset about? And I'm like, I just lost to a freshman in front of a home crowd. And he goes, that kid pinned me in the first minute last year. He's the captain of their team, and this kid's gone to regionals so many times. Like, you just had one of the best matches I've ever seen you wrestle. And I was like, what? I was shocked. I had no clue what was going on. But absolutely, there's that. If you the mindset's everything, because there's some matches where you tell yourself, like, I'm not losing this match. Like, I won a match, and right afterwards, I was so dehydrated. So, like, I ended up cutting so much weight, I ended up blacking out. Like, but I was not losing. I was down 14-0. And I was like, I'm not losing this match. I pinned the kid, could barely walk off the mat. I ended up stumbling off the mat and just blacked out on the side, because I was like, I'm not losing this match. So that mental toughness is a real thing. Like, these kids are crazy who do this sport. It's kind of like boxing or UFC. You got to be a little bit insane to do that sport.
Easily. Are you a UFC fan or boxing fan?
I love both.
Nice. Yeah, I'm a big UFC fan.
Really?
I've been following it since like 2008 or something. Who do I like right now?
Mm-hmm.
Nate Diaz, baby, come on.
Oh man.
Nate's all right. I used to like Dominic Cruz, but he's kind of slowing down. A lot of the guys I used to like are kind of like stepping back a little bit, but let's see. I like oh my god, why am I blanking on his name right now? The guy from New Zealand.
The one that Connor was about to wrestle. The one with the dreads.
No,
you're talking about Sugar Sean?
No, it's jeez. I'll figure it out. All right. Anyways, who you into?
I like Platinum Mike Perry. I mean, you can't go wrong with him. Conor McGregor. I mean, like, Conor McGregor, he's just got that voice, and he's got that energy about him that makes you want to run through a wall. So you can't not like him. When it comes to a match, though, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a sucker for the underdog. I would like to see Conor lose, but like, I love the energy he brings to the sport. I love how he was able to make the sport as prominent as it is. Henry Cejudo, I mean, he's just great. Talk about an ex-wrestler for Iowa. That guy was a gold medal for wrestling, and that translated into UFC. Ben Askren, I mean, just I'm a sucker. I'm a little biased, so I love the wrestler first, UFC second guys, but definitely I just like a good show. In boxing, I mean, there's no better Canelo Alvarez, but you can't really compete. Like, no one can compete with Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali is the greatest boxer to ever do it. He's just man. Watching his old matches, there's nothing better.
What is it? The Rumble
in Manila.
The Thriller in Manila. Yeah,
the Rumble in the Jungle, baby.
There we go.
I got caught watching that in Mrs. Mariani's English class every day for a week. She would sit right behind me, and I'd keep watching the match. And she's like, Dominic, I'm right here. And I'm like, Mrs. Mariani, this fight's just too good. You can't expect me to pause it now. And she wasn't too happy with it, but it was worth it. That fight was just, it was amazing.
Yeah, Muhammad Ali, definitely a prophet to the boxing game. What about some more current boxers? What do you think of Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury?
Oh man, Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, just two absolute just beasts. They're huge. They're massive. I mean, like, I love Deontay Wilder. I love his work ethic. I love how I love how he's kind of a showman, how he's not afraid to put the pizzazz on, like walk into the ring with a little extra flair, a little extra swagger. But I love Tyson Fury. I don't know. You can't really debate between the two. I mean, Deontay Wilder might come out on top for just my personal preference, but then I'm also, I don't know. I'm also a fan of Andy Ruiz. I think he's cool. I like watching him. I like how I love how he's built, Deontay Wilder, you look at that man and you're just like, wow, that's an athlete. Like, that's a specimen. And then you look at exactly. And then you look at someone like Andy Ruiz, not your stereotypical when you think like freak pro athlete, no six pack, not super cut, but this guy, man, he puts up results.
Yeah.
For
here's some deadly combos. Like, I don't know if you watched his the Anthony Joshua fight, the first one. He outboxed him so quick. Like, he was just hitting him too fast with the combos.
Absolutely. When Canelo Alvarez, watching his combos, I've pulled you aside a few times in Chinese class, and I'm like, you gotta see this combo. It's insane. No, but the way Canelo move.
And I think Canelo's defense is so underrated. Like, he has really quick jabs, but like the agility on his defensive end is also it's just impeccable.
Absolutely. I honestly think that UFC and boxing are the two hardest sports to do, and then behind that is wrestling. But I think a sport where you take physical contact, you have to cut weight, you have to have that mental toughness that we discussed earlier, but that's just so crucial to it. But then you also have to train the way they train, and you have to take a beating in the ring or take a beating in the octagon or even on the mat. It's just like when you're that hungry and when you're that like dehydrated and you just had to work so hard for it and you're just getting pounded on and they're just without remorse, you're just getting the crap beaten out of you. I think that's when you can see like, okay, this guy's, that's a tough dude. Like, that guy's just not giving up. He's not taking a loss. He's fighting for every penny with this fight.
What's interesting about UFC and boxing is the difference in the way the fighters' careers and like records are laid out. Because I know in boxing, a lot of times the guys, the top guys in the game are like, 24-0 or something. Like, they just like don't pretty much have like no losses, right? Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And so like in UFC, a lot of times it's a lot more like wishy-washy whether or not you're going to get the dub that night. And, a lot of times it is a really tough struggle, like mentally. A lot of guys face like devastating title losses, down to the last round and stuff. And a lot, that's kind of like, I think the difference with UFC and boxing is like in UFC, a lot of times you're going to have to, rally yourself back up, and you're probably not going to have a perfect record, but those ups and downs are really going to fortify your career in that sport.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But there's also like I don't know, I feel like the old school boxing, like there's nothing better than the old school boxing, you know,
Yeah.
like Sugar Ray Robinson, and like watching those guys like way back in like the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Like that's where you found like the really, really tough like blue collar workers who were like, you know, I'm also really good at boxing, so let me do that as well. And I got like my grandfather used to box when he was in the Navy, when he was back in like the 40s, 50s, around the same time frame. But so that's where I got like my love of boxing for that. But it's just a great sport.
It really is. And when we talk about dethroning in the UFC, we can rewind back. I think this was 2017 when Nate Diaz beat Conor McGregor.
And the greatest thing about that fight was the amount of trash that Conor McGregor was talking.
And I was with Diaz the whole time. I was like, this bull is about to, you know, mess this man up.
Absolutely. And the funniest thing is he's coming at every aspect of Nate Diaz. He's coming at the fact that he's coming at his diet.
Yeah.
And it was just like, and then he got whooped, and he's like, and then and like the he was interviewed like after, he goes, what do you think like was the biggest downfall? He goes, I was eating like 2 steaks a day, like just pumping myself with all this red meat. It's like, dude, you came out with them for like not eating meat, and now you're saying the biggest downfall is the fact you ate too much meat and it slowed you down. Like, talk about irony. Like, this is amazing.
Yeah. Wait, I think we've all seen the Game Changers, right?
Absolutely.
Tom, you've seen it. Yeah, like you've seen it as well, and I think they feature that fight in the film as well, and they talked about how McGregor was eating like 3 steaks a day compared to Diaz, who was on a plant-based diet. I think that just quantifies how good vegetables are for you, and juxtaposed to meat. But I'm not saying that be the final thing, but I mean, feel free to debate here. I want to hear what you guys think.
No, it's not the end all be all of the situation, whether or not like, but it absolutely like I think Nate Diaz's diet helped him in the situation. Does that mean I'm going to go vegan or vegetarian tomorrow? Hell no, never will. Then again, I'm not a professional athlete, and my body doesn't need to be at peak performance. My philosophy is, I'm going out sometime, might as well enjoy it with a steak.
That's funny.
Bro, you're like the epitome of not what I was expecting. Okay.
No, I came home because I watched that documentary, and I was like, wow, I really need to change my diet. I want my body to perform at its maximum capability. And I mean, I probably have red meat 5 times a week. I probably have like different assortment of like meats and stuff like that at least 3-4 times a day. I came home and I told my dad, I go, Dad, I want to start a plant-based diet. He laughed at me and said, okay, I'm going to go to the store and pick up some steak, and then shut the door. And that was that. That was the end of the conversation. I haven't even summoned the courage to tell my grandfather that, but he would have probably a similar reaction. So definitely had a lot to do with the way I was raised. Definitely, like, my diet is by no means plant-based, but if you need your body to perform at maximum capabilities and you're a collegiate athlete, professional athlete, I see no reason why you wouldn't go that direction.
What's wrong with the meatballs? Got to get the meatballs. Come on, Dom.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Like, if my grandmom sees me not having meatballs at Sunday dinner, she's going to get the wooden spoon or start questioning me severely.
What, are you messed up?
Yeah, exactly.
Another interesting thing I kind of was thinking about was Conor McGregor also had a recent fight with the guy named Khabib. I'm sorry to say his name. Khabib. Anyways, Khabib.
There you go, Khabib.
From wow, I'm actually blanking right now. Well,
I think from Ukraine or Russia.
Well, one of the countries there, like Dagestan over there.
Right.
But anyways, no, he's a devout Muslim, I'm pretty sure, and I think sometimes he gets taunted for that. Maybe his religious beliefs, but I think he eats pretty clean, and he doesn't do alcohol and different things like that. And it's interesting because he's another guy who beat Conor. It's kind of funny, kind of a little bit of a trend there, but
absolutely.
Yeah. Wait,
And
it's kind of also ironic that he's Muslim because like Islam is all about peace and just not committing any haram, which is like sins in the Arabic language.
yeah, I feel like there's a big, not to switch the topic from UFC and diet over to religion, but I feel like there's a big correlation between all religions. Like the major religions, a lot of them all have this underlying thing, an underlying pattern and base that all, like, it's kind of like that tree. I feel like all religions have that tree trunk and that base towards like helping others and like being a good person, being like a holistic person. So it's not just about like I would consider myself a Catholic, yes, but that doesn't mean I don't follow other religions. So like you were saying that he got scrutinized a little bit. Habib got scrutinized for being a Muslim, and you hate to see it because a lot of these religions, like we had to do a project this year for my religion class, and we had to say the similarities between Lassallean Catholicism and the 5 pillars of Islam, and it's just a lot of them are very similar. And it's hate to see anyone have to go through any of the discrimination.
Yeah, you're absolutely right with that. There's easily themes across religions that transcend their specific things that the traditions that they follow.
Absolutely,
and it's not hard to go through and pick out the good qualities about each religion, and then just try to live off of those kind of virtues. Yeah, I know you will. You go ahead, you.
Wait, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say I know you've been kind of reaching out and taking a look at different religions, seeing their different values, and maybe we can speak to that.
Yeah, so on my bucket list, especially as I go off to university, my main goals have just been to explore as much as possible because I feel like when we explore, we just like that's how we learn more about ourselves, and that's just how we grow. So yeah, I'm really curious because I've never experienced. I was born into the Ethiopian Orthodox religion, but I've only experienced that and maybe Catholic, Lassallean spirituality, and a little bit of Buddhism. But I've never been exposed to like Judaism or Hinduism or all these other Eastern religions. And I think why they're so similar is because religion is the oldest, it is the oldest social construct that we as humans have embedded or created. Like from the inception of any religion, like humans have always created doctrines, or just wait, hold on, I'm forgetting the word.
Like rationale or faith or like.
Yeah. We've constructed this faith into an abstract thing that we can't see, but we just believe in, and that's how we've defined faith over the years. And I think just as as humans develop, so do our religions, and as they have developed, as religions have developed within societies, that's just made it more palpable for us. I don't know if I'm making sense here. You
no,
can tell
absolutely.
me.
You're making great sense. Continue.
Yeah. I mean that's basically it. I think that's why they're so similar, just because all religions are social constructs.
Absolutely. Well, because religion's always been that answer to unanswerable questions. What happens after we die? You can't ask someone who died already that there's no answer. So you needed something to put the mind. I hate to say put the mind at ease because it makes it seem like it's like religion's like a figment, but it's that intangible concept or that intangible object or whatever. It's always something that they were unable to put a finger on, But you definitely see religions. They're like, yes, there is some tangible aspects, whether it's the Quran, the Torah, the Bible, or whatever it is. But there's absolutely it's that answer to the questions that never been answered. So it's an interesting concept. But like you've said, there is the baseline for it, but the interpretations of people can. A lot of from my experience, I've studied more of the Bible than I have other religions. I've been exposed to other ones, rather Mr. Chesnick, absolutely amazing teacher on world religions, or I've been working bar mitzvahs and doing stuff like that for probably the better half of 5, maybe even 6 years. So like I've seen my fair share of bar mitzvahs,
Judaism.
bat mitzvahs. Yeah, absolutely. I've dipped in to Judaism and experienced a little bit of that religion, which is great. You know what I mean? I show respect and love all religions. I think they're all great, but no, I think it's definitely a very, very interesting concept of religion and how it shows like people's faith and things that they really might not be able to have a defiant answer for.
Yeah, for sure. And I think religion, I think the question of what happens after we die, there are too many answers to that. And religion is the answer, you know? Like there's always so much information out there, and religion is like that clarity. It just gives us that hope. Like hope is such a powerful thing, you know, instead of being like the absurdist that believes that nothing happens and there's no order or there's no preordained destined in life. You know, religion is that spiritual thing that gives you guidance throughout your life, even though there's a chance that literally nothing happens.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Shout out Albert Kumez for the absurdism. I can't believe I just messed that up. That's my favorite author.
That's great. No, but I definitely think that all religions have something to learn, and it's foolish just to think that you can pull from one aspect of it and learn that. Like my favorite quote of all time is, "No man is a true believer unless he desires for his brother that which he desires for himself." That's Prophet Muhammad. Like that's not like I'm a Catholic, and that's still one of my favorite quotes of all time. Like it's. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot to learn from all aspects, and EOL, you know, I commend you, and I idolize you in a sense that that you were able to dive deeper into all those things, and I mean, it's motivated me to do such too.
Yeah, I mean, spirituality is such an important aspect of life. I'm so glad that you're exploring it too. But what about you, Melik? Have you been exploring other avenues? Can I convince you to come to the brighter side?
Absolutely.
I recently opened my third eye, and I'm not just kidding. Kind of caught off guard with that. No, you know, it's actually kind of funny since sometimes I'm just like roaming around on YouTube and just go down the pit hole and find some random videos, but like lately I've stumbled on some interesting ones about the Islam religion, and then I like recently I watched a movie about Catholic priests that would go to Japan and the history of that with those two, I guess at the time, rival religions. But one of the things I'm hopefully going to be able to do in the future is just go and experience those religions. I already reached out to one of my, family friends that lives in the area that's Muslim, and they're like so down to bring me to their mosque and get to experience that. I don't know, just I'm really into cultures, and so if ever I have that opportunity, like I'm never gonna let that go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's amazing. I envy you. That's an amazing opportunity, man. Buzz.
Yeah, definitely. And there's also that aspect in, like, I to be honest, I mean, I've been raised Catholic. I am still Catholic to this day, but I didn't even know that there was different, like, I knew that there was different subgroups, whether it's like Protestant or whatever, like Catholic, Christian. So there's different, like, there's sections of it, but I never understood that. Like, I ran into my wrestling coach. This was right before the whole quarantine thing started, maybe late January, early February, and I ran into my wrestling coach, and he was an old coach of mine, and I was like, "How you doing?" And he's like, "I'm going to church. Where are you going?" I'm like, "I'm going to church." And he goes, "You want to come with me?" And I'm like, "I'd love to, but I'm like, it's a tradition for me to take my mom to mass every Sunday." I was like, so I was going with my mom, and he's like, "Well, next weekend, come to mass with me, and I'll show you my church or I think it was his is called Saint Matt's, so I go to Saint Salvatore's." And he took me to his church, and it was all in Latin. The priest didn't face you. He faced the altar, which is uncommon for most standard churches. But this service was just different. They ran by different values, and they had a different had a different script that they ran by, and it was very cool to see that something that I thought I knew for the last 18 years could just be so different, but still be practicing, still be worshiping the same God, and like all this really, really interesting stuff. It was cool that you can like turn the coin a little bit.
A little bit of like a nuanced way of looking
Absolutely.
at it.
Yeah, definitely.
We should take him to the Ethiopian mass.
Oh my God.
In Philly.
Yes. And I think that's the thing. Like, there's so much beauty in other religions that you just haven't experienced. So, like, it's understandable to, be isolated in your own religion and to only experience that. But if you think your religion is like really beautiful and powerful, imagine what like 4 other ones that you haven't experienced are like. And I feel like we're living in an era of like misinformation and Islamophobia. But it's pretty ironic because, there's always extreme groups. But when a religion preaches like a certain message, and I'm by no means Muslim, but I'm just, a witness. Oh my God, what I was gonna say.
I agree.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you guys know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh yeah, no, I understand what you were saying there, but I don't know. I think it's definitely cool, and I know we brushed up on this like a little bit earlier, but we're saying that people surround themselves, and you only know what you know. Like, you don't know what you don't know, and you can't experience what you haven't experienced before. So you can only hope to teach yourself and gain that experience in the future, because that's what this is all about. And I know you were talking about like understanding the different cultures and how like there's different aspects of the cultures. And yeah, I know you were saying that there's like so many different like different religions out there that you can experience, and that's what it's all about. Because like we don't know what we don't know.
Exactly. Wow. Yeah. But I recommend to anyone out there who wants to grow or just learn more about themselves to go out and just experience another religion. Like manifest yourself into a culture you are completely unfamiliar with. Like, I remember going to a synagogue the first time, and this was completely by accident. And little did I know, like I was entrenched in Judaism. But I walked in there, with my family, and we had no idea it was a synagogue. We thought it was like a Christian church. And everybody has on their yarmulkes. We literally step in. I kid you not, it's like out of a movie. Everybody in the synagogue. I don't remember if the priest was looking at us, but I remember everybody literally turns their heads and gives us this face. Like, who are these black people? But then, we got over it. 30 minutes in, we're just shaking hands. We're talking about Shabbat, and just learning about different cultures and just exploring new avenues like that it's amazing.
Absolutely. And I know the first time I went to to share a similar story, something like that. I was in a synagogue I was at a bar mitzvah service, and I was very little. I was probably like 7, maybe. It was like my brother's friend. I was actually probably like 5 or 6 actually, and never been to a Jewish service, never like dipped into that religion yet, didn't know anything about it, but they told me I had to wear a yarmulke, and I'm like, all right. So I thought it was just like some hat, and you put it on, and it was sliding down my head. And I put it right when I put it on my head, I thought it was, I didn't see anyone else touching theirs. Little did I know that there was clips that they had into their hair, but I didn't see anyone else touching their yarmulke. So I was like, oh no, like it'd be disrespectful if I touched my yarmulke and I readjusted it. So I was like contorting my head and like turning my head in all sorts of directions, trying not to have this yarmulke hit the ground, until my sister looked at me and she's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, it's going to fall off my head because I put it on incorrectly, but I think it's disrespectful if I touch it. Can you like realign my yarmulke? So I'm having my sister move this yarmulke around my head whenever it was like falling. And I kept touching her throughout the service, like tapping her like, yo, I need you to move this yarmulke. Like it's falling. But it was, it was my first encounter with the Jewish service, and it was great, but it was just very funny to see that like I had no clue that something I thought was like might have been perceived as disrespectful was basically just like, dude, just realign the yarmulke.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's funny. But you grew in that situation, and that's definitely a good experience to be had.
Absolutely. That can be said with anything.
That's true. That's true.
Another thing that's interesting is how much either the media or people that you talk to make it seem like other maybe religions or oftentimes cultures or so are negative, or like stay away from them. Oftentimes in the media, either Islam or just like the Middle East, it now has kind of like a negative connotation to it. And I think, I don't know, it's kind of sad to know that, but if you have the opportunity to like surpass all the stigmas or how people perceive it, if you're able to find the beauty in different cultures like that can be a really key aspect in your life. And I saw that recently on this one person's Instagram who took like their cousin or family member who was a U.S. soldier, and they took them back to Afghanistan to like experience the actual, I guess, the beauty of the country. And I don't know, it's just really interesting to see how that kind of worked out. And I mean, he was like at the extreme of where he had like PTSD after I think his truck was like blown up or something there. I don't know. That's just the reality of how things are. But
No, absolutely. I think there's a lot of truth to what you said. There's like the media does spin things towards a negative connotation or put a negative stigmatism upon like certain subgroup of people or whatever it is. But there's definitely there's good in everyone. And there's good in every subgroup or any category or classification or whatever you want to say. But there's good in everyone, and then it pains me to say, but I also believe that there's some bad, but it's hard not to have your mind corrupted by the bad, but it's truth that there's a lot of good in a lot of people, and I think that sometimes the media makes it hard to see, but there's definitely is. Like you were saying about the story of the soldier going back to Afghanistan. I grew up in America, so a lot of times when you hear about the Middle East or Afghanistan in particular, it's about like a military conflict, but there's definitely good people out there. There's good-hearted people all over the world.
Yeah. And I think this Islamophobia or xenophobia really has come, to quote Dante in Dante's Inferno, from the greatest sin we can commit, which is gluttony. Like we as Americans, wow, I'm calling myself American. Okay. We as Americans are obsessed with money, and Afghanistan and Iran and the Middle East have a lot of it in their oil. And I think Bush was talking about, or I don't know if he said this explicitly, but implicitly, I know that his Secretary of State was talking about the reason why he wanted to go to war with Afghanistan and why they sent troops over there. And he was talking about how it was mainly a monetization thing where they wanted just to control oil. So I think like this culture has been made in America where there's really strong Islamophobia, and Malcolm X talks about it too in his autobiography. And like this just isn't like a current thing, but it's kind of weird when America's like this melting pot of cultures, but we exclude certain ethnicity types or religions just because they're different from like the majority.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's been going on for years, and it's a terrible thing to witness and to see. And it pains me to see it, but it's been happening for so long, Yeah. And hopefully it seems like especially relating to current events, but it seems like our generation and our upbringing is more of has more of a fight and has more of a drive to not be content with that and not to be like, okay, this is the norm, so be it. So it seems like it's great to see that our generation has that fire in their eyes about like putting that to rest, you know what I mean? Where it's just like, you're different from me, so therefore I don't like you, or I don't like your subgroup of people. It's great to see that we're fighting that, because it's a fight that should have taken place a while ago, but we're taking care of it now, and hopefully we can finally put that to rest.
Would you dare to hit us with one of your favorite quotes, or you can give us a few if you'd like?
Oh man, well mentioned a little bit prior with one of my favorite quotes, and it's by Prophet Muhammad, no man is a true believer unless he desires for his brother that which he desires for himself. I feel like that, I mean, that just encompasses what it's all about, you know, regardless of religion, regardless of who you are, it's about being there for each other. And it's about being a selfless person. I don't know. I wasn't raised to be selfish. I was raised to be selfless. So it's a simple change in the word, but the meaning is catastrophic. So I definitely think that, that quote's something to live by. Another one of my favorite one comes from it comes from another religion, comes from the Catholicism. So it comes from the Bible. It's John's chapter 13, verse 7. And it's Jesus replied, "You do not realize what I'm doing now, but later you will understand." So it's like when you're faced with adversity, I know like this year I was super upset that I couldn't wrestle. I was terrible. I was devastated. But like I didn't know what the plan was until like it unfolds. So I didn't know it was getting me ready for college and this and that. And that'll be something to get into maybe another time. But I think that there's a lot of things that happen in our lives, and sometimes we have that time of pity where we're just like, why me? Why did this have to happen to me? Why do hard times have to happen to me? Or like, poor me, and you're really dragging your heels and you're unmotivated. You can't make your bed. But I feel like that quote kind of encompasses it all. It's kind of like, hey, sit back, relax, take a deep breath. Don't worry. Like everything's going to work itself out. And then EOL, I know I got to shout out EOL for this one. He gave this one to me, but no man who can rise before dawn 365 days a year fails to make his family rich. And that one's what it's all about. That's the hard work. That's the grit. That's the 9 to 5. That's what it's all about. I know EOL sent that to me, and he and I both printed it and put it above our doors. I mean, that's the last thing I see before I leave my room. That's the first thing I see when I wake up. And that's because what it's all about. If you have that hard work instilled in you, if you have that foundation set and you have everything you need to do, like you just got to work hard, and then that's that. The rest will come with it. And that's it. Yeah, those are my favorites.
Nice.
Appreciate it.
Me? All right, I got two real quick. So the first one is has to do with, you know, the idea of when people attribute maybe success or another person's success to luck. And you guys have probably heard this, but it's luck is where opportunity meets preparation. And it's pretty simple, but I think that's I don't know. I kind of like that because you can't what you think is out of your control actually is a culmination of what you've been doing. And when it comes to success, you know, it's literally what have you been doing to set yourself up for that time when the opportunity comes, and then you take advantage of that. And it's that culmination that really gets you that quote unquote luck that happens. And then the second one is great men are not born great, they grow great. And that's from The Godfather.
I like it. Yeah, I like both of them. I like how the simplicity makes them easy to follow, easy to track, and but the message is just very profound. I like them. Thank you.
Yeah,
how about you?
Ooh, okay. I'm gonna give you guys three because I'm really indecisive.
Okay.
Okay, so the first one would be from Albert Camus, who wrote The Strangers, one of the greatest literary works known to man. He said, "The only way to deal with an unfree world is to become so absolutely free that your very existence is an act of rebellion." My next quote would be Soliloquy from Hamlet by Shakespeare. "To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against the sea of troubles, and by opposing end them." And I think my other quote would be by Ben Franklin. He said, "Those things that hurt instruct."
Those are good ones.
Yeah, they all. I feel like all three of us have somewhat like impersonated those through our personalities.
Absolutely. And I like the ones that how you referenced literary. I like how you quoted Macbeth's soliloquy when you used it to be or not to be. Like, I like that one. That was cool.
Yes, sir. I'm a little bit queer. Like, I'm different, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta be.
Yes, sir. But thank you so much for coming on the podcast and joining us and being a part of this. We really appreciate you giving us the time.
Yeah, well, thank you boys very much for having me on. I love what you're doing here. I think it's very, I think you guys have a great thing going for you, and just keep it up. It's a pleasure to be a part of it.
Thanks, Dom. We'll have to have you on next time.